Can present now. So maybe we can start the session. So I would like to welcome all the participants to this session on cloud technologies. And we have our experts, Mr. Moin and Mr. Sadiq, introducing us to different cloud technologies. So this session will continue till 9 p.m. So I would request all the participants to be on mute till the speakers open up the floor for discussion, maybe during the session or finally at the end of the session as per their convenience. It will be really helpful if all the participants be on mute. And this recording will also be available, inshallah, at the end of the session in a few weeks, few days time, so that you can refer to it later also. So over to you, Moin bhai, Sadiq bhai. Please carry on.
Thanks, Advi. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to help everyone here. I just want to give some introduction on the Moin bhai. Moinuddin Ahmed has near about 22 years of experience in the IT industry. He is a global Azure delivery head for one of the MNC, as well as he is since inspection. He is part of very huge transformation deals on Azure, as a few of the migrations, consolidations, as transformations. He has a vast experience, as well as he is a multi-cloud expert, including your Azure, AWS, and GCP. Over to you, Moin sir.
Thanks, Sadiq bhai. So, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on the time zone which you are. Presume that most of you are in India, but if someone is outside, we'll let you know. If you bookkeeping, please keep yourself on mute. Between me and Sadiq, we'll try to manage also the chat. So when I'm speaking, Sadiq bhai will actually answer any questions. And if you have any questions, please put on the chat. And we'll also try and see if at the end of the session, if we can probably also get into a mode wherein we'll take few question and answers. And I know there could be three kind of categories of people in this session, right? The first session probably would be like people who are new to cloud. Second, probably who know the cloud but don't know where exactly to lead to. And third could be sort of experts who might be in the advanced stages but still would probably like to learn. So again, we trying to ensure that we take or cater to all the three kinds of categories. So in case there are some areas where you feel that we are getting into too basics or little advanced, please bear with us. Inshallah, we'll try and see if we can try to cover as much as possible. So with much ado, we'll just get started. And Sadiq bhai, can you please share the slide, please? Sadiq, you're on mute. Bhai, can you hear us?
This, hope this is visible now. Let me know.
Your slide is not coming up, Sadiq bhai.
Not at
You can see your video, but not the slides.
Yep. Can you check now?
Yeah, it's coming up. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, there now.
Good. Okay. Thank you. So what we'll do is we'll also try to keep it.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you please record the session, please?
This is getting recorded, I guess, right? Can you get started?
Jazakallah.
Okay.
You can start, Moin sir.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll also try to keep it a little interactive, right? I know that this concept could probably be a little boring or interesting at times. Here and there, I'll probably ask few questions and probably we can see if we can get into a mode where you could look at it. So first and foremost, when you get started, right, I would probably want to say that what does anyone mean by cloud computing? Can you quickly put on the chat, right, while we get through that? And Sadiq, can you please get to the next slide, please? So I wanted a little interactive, folks. So if you can quickly start putting on the chat, right? We'll start looking at it, and then we can probably get into that. Okay. So uh, we're starting here, right? So basically, me and Moin, myself, Moin, and I've got Sadiq here. So we have got a good amount of cloud knowledge, but in cloud era, right, nothing is expert. No one is expert, right? Every day we learn, including all of us, right? Every year we at least try and get into new areas in the cloud itself and try to actually help the customers and also fellow mates like here. Though we are multi-cloud, we are concentrating on Azure, but it does not mean that we cannot speak on the other languages. But if required, we can probably get into the other sessions on this, right? And we are here because we love to empower you. That's the whole intention. There's no other agenda or hidden agenda here. End of the day, as part of this session, we want you to get away with at least what is cloud, what are the various types of clouds and other aspects of it. Am I audible? Here and there, we're seeing that someone says that we are not audible.
Yes, man, you're audible.
Okay, so we'll go ahead. I think so. The other bookkeeping, if you think that we are not audible, probably check your internet connection. There could also be a possibility that we might lose our internet connection. So in case such a thing is there, Sadiq bhai will call me on the mobile and then probably we look at it or vice versa. So what we plan to cover today is what exactly is cloud computing? What are the top benefits of cloud computing? And what are the various types of cloud? Different types of cloud service providers. What are the job opportunities on cloud? And what is Microsoft Azure and Azure certification? In the future session, we'll see if we can probably also cover something with respect to what exactly are the various other certifications which are available with the other hyperscalers. Okay, so next slide, please. So what is cloud computing? So can someone say, first and foremost, what do you mean by cloud? Is the same cloud which actually gives us rain with respect to we being in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, or wherever you are, or what exactly is cloud? Okay, can you put on chat, right? So, okay, someone says using services remotely, great, okay. Anything else? So in short, anything on cloud, right, is nothing but, if you really see, is any servers, storage, network, or any aspect of it where you can probably use in commodity and someone is actually taking care of it and you don't have to really look at it. So that is in a very broad term what is cloud. Uh, a simple example is today we are on this Zoom meeting, right? So this is actually hosted on cloud, and within a short duration, within 24 hours, we are able to get 2 speakers to speak on this, and we were able to get so many people onto a session. So that is the power of cloud computing, right? So this is a very simple example. Second example, which we've been seeing it for more than a decade, is email. So all of you would know that you can just go to Gmail and create an account, and then after that, right, all of this your mails and yeah, your photos, all your media and all of that can actually get stored somewhere, right? So all of that gets stored somewhere. No one has seen where exactly it is. It is somewhere in the cloud is what people say. So that is why it is referred as cloud computing, right? So we'll get into the actual definition. So cloud computing is a delivery of computing services, including servers. When we mean servers, it is like your anything with your CPUs, right? Large servers, small servers, and other aspects. Storage, which is like it could be something like a small storage, or it could be something which can hold petabyte of data. Then a lot of databases. So you could probably have something like SQL, Oracle, and a lot of that. Networking, software, analytical, and a lot of things, right?
Am I audible? I just wanted to check, whether it's the issues only at me, at my
You
end,
are
or
you are
everyone
audible.
else is able to hear.
You are audible.
You're
Sorry to
audible.
interrupt.
You're audible. Can you hear us?
Yes, man, we can hear you.
Okay. So folks, in case someone has this doubt of whether it's audible or not, please put on the chat so that we can go on with the presentation. And definitely, if we are really not audible, please feel to stop. I'm also checking the chat right as we speak, and we'll probably hold on here. Okay. So going back to cloud computing, so basically anything to do with software analytical, internet of cloud, and a lot of this, right? Where you want to take it to a scale within a short period of time, right? And you don't have time to actually think or use it, right? And you want to probably use it, but want to again probably dismantle, right? That is where exactly cloud really helps you, right? So basically it is built for innovation, flexibility, resources, and economic of scales, right? So you typically, when you get onto cloud, right, you just pay for what you use. So example, Zoom meeting like this, right? You get a subscription, and you're actually able to get into a mode wherein you will be able to get a subscription. Once you get the subscription, you will be able to pay for the hour. Example, half an hour, 1 hour. And example, if you're going to use any storage related, that you'll get over there. Again, it depends on the subscription and other things. Plus, what does it mean, right? So in case you have to do something like this very similar, right, on your own, right, in the olden era, you actually first and foremost has to get the compute over there. You will actually have to get a media software. Then you actually have to ensure that where are the people connecting from, right? It could be across the world. So depending on that, you have to put something called a CDN, which is the uh, content delivery network, right? And then attached to it, right? And at the end of it, right, you would have had a server which you might or might not be able to use again, because you don't know when is your next session. With cloud, you're able to actually get into all of these resources, being very flexible, being very nimble. You'll be able to actually take any resource, use it for a particular period, pay for it, and if you like, continue. If you don't want, you can actually remote. So thereby what happens is it lowers your operating cost, it runs your infrastructure very efficiently, and you can scale your businesses based on the needs as such. So this is on a broad definition of cloud. So I've also given you a few examples, right? I talked about Gmail, I talked about Zoom meeting itself, right? So these are all hosted on the cloud computing as such. So we'll get on to the next slide, please. Sadiq, can you get to the next slide, please? So what are the top benefits of cloud, right? Can someone quickly put on the chat, right? What do you think would be the top most benefit of cloud? I think so I already gave you some hints, right? So first and foremost, right, you don't need to have a huge capex. Capex is nothing but capital investment upfront, right? So if you want to conduct a meeting like this, all you need to do is you just need to get into a mode where you just ensure that you get a subscription, so you'll have cost benefit. Second one is you will be able to get things done very, very fast. So within example, like few hours, we were able to actually get the session done over there. So basically that means that you are able to get something as a speed over there. You will be able to actually use cloud computing for ensuring that you can get into any globe, right? And you'll be able to connect, right, without a lot of issues as such. So you don't need to get into visa issues, you don't need to get into local custom procurement and other issues. So once upon a time, when you used to actually have a server and actually used to take the server from India to US or US to UK, or actually imported from there, right, you have to play a lot of custom and other duties, right? So you don't have to do that. Next is, right, using cloud, you actually get into a lot of productivity, right? So basically you are able to get into a mode wherein you're very, very productive. As soon as you get started, you'll be able to get productive. You don't have to sit and wait for someone to actually configure, right? I see a lot of people really giving some answers, really appreciate it over there. So Sadiq, can you go to the next slide, right? So the top benefit is cost, right? Very, very nimble. You can actually get into the cloud, use it, and you, as I told you earlier, right, pay as you go, right? You can just pay for what you require, any server, storage, network, any of those components, and be still able to use it. So example, I'll give you another example. Databases, right? Once upon a time when we started our careers, right, we used to have SQL Server, Oracle, and all the stuff, right, which used to be huge cost, right? Today we are getting something as a uh, pay as you go, or platform as a service, where you can actually subscribe for a SQL server and be able to pay only if for the duration which you use. If you like it, fair enough. After you've done your computing, you've finished a small project, you can turn it off. So you don't have to worry about some of those. Next, you get into the speed. I've already spoken about that. Next, you get into global scale. Next, you get into productivity, wherein you're very, very productive. You don't have to sit for infrastructure team, procurement team, and a lot of other teams to actually raise up a indent, get you the server and other aspect of it. Next, you get into performance, right? Like today we are sitting here, right? We want to ensure that whenever we speak, right, you are able to hear, and you are again, if you're able to chat with us, right, all of these are there. So we need to ensure there is performance. By default, the cloud gives you some amount of performance, but if you want something as a more enhanced performance, right, you can always do it, but everything comes with a cost, right? So yes, performance is another thing which we can really look at it. More than that, right, the next one, which is the reliability, right? What do we mean by reliability? Reliable is like, as soon we announce the session at 7 o'clock, right, and as soon as we say 7 o'clock, right, we should be able to actually get into a mode wherein say that we can start this session. That was the confidence, right? Most of us would have gone for the salah and we just came back, right? Within 1 minute, we are able to log in and it is reliable. So that is what you get out of cloud benefits, right? Next is security, right? Me joining as Moin, Sadiq joining as Sadiq, right? And our data is not moved across, right? That also is there. So a lot of fears, right? When we started our career, first thing we used to actually had to tell us, is it secure? How do we do it, right? But today, we have been working with large banks, we're working with insurance companies and other things. If you see on the internet, right, all of them are using the cloud and it is secure, right? And there's various way to do it. I mean, by default it comes with a lot of security, but they're also depending on the domain which you're working, be it banking or right, retail or something, it ensures that it'll take care of the security. So these are the top benefits of the cloud computing. So next we'll get into the next slide. So what are the top types of cloud, right? So there are predominantly three types of cloud. First one is called the public cloud. So public cloud is anything which is owned and operated by a third party. Example, Zoom is a third party, Microsoft, Azure, AWS, Google, IBM Cloud, right? Alibaba, all of these are examples of public cloud where the ownership is not with an individual or with a company, it is with respect to someone else. All you do is you go subscribe, get the details, including your Gmail, right? You are not owner of the Gmail, right? You're owner of your account, but still tomorrow if Yahoo or Google decides to turn off the account or the email benefits, right, which you would have seen, like most of them go down, right? Example, Google used to have Hangouts, they actually tried to remove that, right? So they have, the public cloud owners have the ability to add a service or delete. So and these are the people where all the hardware, software, all of them is actually managed by that company. This is Microsoft or Amazon or Google in case of the top clouds. The next one is a private cloud, right? So what is a private cloud? Private cloud refers to a cloud computing resource where it can be used for a single business or an organization. So example, like for an organization like Amazon itself, right? So AWS started with Amazon, right? So for them it required a private cloud where they would like to have a lot of servers which are hosted on something called a data center, and all of this were called on-prem, which is like on the premises of a particular company, and which is limited to their own company. Other people will might not be able to directly access. The control is with respect to the organization. So that is what was with respect to the private cloud. So private cloud is the one where the service and infrastructure are maintained and owned by a company in a private network. They might or might not give access to someone else. So example, if you want to share information, you can open it by APIs, but it is not. So in short, public is public, private is more of a dedicated. I think so someone has, Mansoor bhai has put that right. So it is more of a dedicated one, so which is very good, right? But based on our experiences, right, we are seeing that no company can say I will either go on private or a public cloud. They are getting into a mode which is called a hybrid cloud, where some or most of the features are there on a private cloud. So it could be your user details, it could be some of the confidential details, or it could be some database. Example, in a bank, right, a lot of computing and others is there on the private, but your marketing data or any of the website, if you go to HDFC and other things, right, all of that can be getting into a public cloud. So these are the places where you get into something called a hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud contains both a combination of a private and a public cloud, and they are bound together by technology that allows you to access application and data between this private and public cloud very seamlessly, and using which you are able to optimize your infrastructure. Plus the cost is also actually optimized. Plus if you want, there is a control wherever whatever you want you can actually keep it in private, and where whatever you are okay not being dedicated or can be open for public, you can put it on the public cloud. So today most organizations are on hybrid cloud. So with this we'll get into the next slide, please. So there's a more little of a fun, right? Uh, so when you say that you want to move to cloud to storage, how will you move? Will you use a catapult and take all your data and actually upload it? So the second network cartoon, right? It talks about with today's world, right? With COVID and others, right? Everything is as a service, right? So it's not very far where we actually get into a mode wherein homework can become as a service, right? You can actually dial someone and said, okay, I've got this homework, and someone do it over there. Probably that might get done on a cloud where a teacher or someone is ready to do your homework, and you just pay for that homework one sum or something like that, and you still don't get beaten up by your teachers, right? And the third cartoon which says that with cloud, right, you're not able to touch and feel any server and other things, right? So the cartoon says that where is my server, right? Is it am I able to see it? So example, have you ever been able to touch your Gmail server or a network as such? No, right? It's all virtual. So that is what it means. So this is again just to keep it a little light, some of the cartoons which we see on the internet as such. So we'll go to the next slide, please. So next we'll get into what are the various types of cloud. So we have so far gone into what is cloud computing, what are the various types of cloud. Next we'll get into with the example, right? So there are three types of cloud categories. First is called IaaS. So everything is as a service. When you say AAS, as a service, okay, it is always represented with a small letter AAS over there. The first one is IaaS, second one is PaaS, third one is CaaS. So if I have to give an example, right? So when you go to a grocery and you actually want to build, actually have a dinner, right? What if you are going to the grocery store, buying all the vegetables and actually cooking and doing everything over there, right from scratch? It is called IaaS. So basically you are responsible for everything. You go buy the vegetables, come back, wash, cut and eat. It is called infrastructure. I'll try to compare that, but this is more like that, right? Second one is you have got the recipe, you've got something ready made, example your MTR food kind of a thing, right? Where you can buy a packet, you are not going and buying the vegetables or the ingredients, but everything is there for you, right? And if you're able to take that and cook, right, you'll still have your meal, right? So the difference between first one is you're doing everything from scratch, but here you're still going to the market but just purchasing that MTR ready to cook kind of a mode. It could be your noodles or it could be any of your rajma chawal and other aspect of it, and be able to cook. So that is more of a platform as a service. Third one is you go to a restaurant, you don't have to do anything, you just order, it comes over there. You don't know who went and bought it, who cooked it. End of the day you're paying for the full meal. So that is called a SaaS. So keep this in the mind, IaaS, SaaS and PaaS. So we'll get into the next slide, right? uh, so when you're getting into an app, right? So we're trying to take some common examples so that we are able to get the message down, right? So you have used Uber, right? Ola, Uber, and other things, right? So a lot of these are examples of companies which have used cloud computing, right? So if you see on the left-hand side, right, you've got something called a own your own car. So basically that means that it is your IaaS. Then if you get into a rental, like it is basically you have a application, it is someone else's card, and you are actually getting into a mode wherein you are just using it as a service and just moving out. So if it is your own car, you are responsible for the car, right from insurance, filling the petrol, ensuring it is clean, ensuring that you get it to service. But if you get into a rental car, right, where example Zoom car and other things, right, you have a little greater flexibility where you buy it for an hour or 1 day or 2 days per the kilometer or the daily charges you pay for that, but you're not responsible for the insurance and other aspects of it. But you need to ensure that it is safe. You are driving it, so it has to be safe. You have a license and other aspects. Third one is where you're actually getting into Uber, right? Which is like absolutely nothing, right? You just book Uber car, and after that you're getting into a mode wherein your responsibility is just to book, pay for that kilometer or the duration, and walk out. What happens to the car, what happens to the driver and others is not your responsibility. So in the similar way, if you look at from the app development, IAS on the left hand side is where you manage the operating system and application is called IAS. And if you get into PaaS, right, where on top of the infrastructure, on top of that, right, you have something called a service fabric, and you also have some cloud services where you can actually use it. Infrastructure is not your responsibility, but the application is your responsibility where you use. Third one is more where you get into something called a SaaS, where example Zoom kind of a thing. You don't care what is the infrastructure, where is the server, what exactly it is. All you're interested is scheduling a meeting, using and getting out. So if you really look at it, left hand side is our practical example of a car rental car and a Uber. Right hand side is IAS, PaaS and a CAS with respect to their development. I hope we are able to sort of get in. If anyone has any doubts, you can keep on putting on the chat. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay. So with this, right, we'll actually get into the various ways of cloud, right? So in the traditional server or on premises, right, there are various components. Networking, if you go from the bottom, right, networking, storage, server, operating system, middleware, your data application, all of it you have to manage. You are responsible. You have to ensure that if the network card goes wrong, it is irresponsible. If the CPU is going out of the space, you'll have to take care. If the memory is down, you have to take care. Year on year, month on month, you need to actually speak to 10 other guys and figure out what is the capacity which is required, and you'll have to take care of it. So this is your responsibility. Very similar to what you did with respect to cooking your own meal, right? So we get into the next one. If you move to cloud, you get into something called infrastructure as a service. Here, what happens is the bottommost layers, which is network, storage, servers, and virtualization, is taken care by the vendor or the hyperscaler. Okay, and anything on top of the virtualization is actually done by someone else. Example like OS middleware runtime data application is your responsibility. So in short, you don't have to worry about worrying about what exactly are the network. Can someone put people on mute, please? So networking, storage, server, and virtualization, and and this is where you actually manage. Next, we get into something called a PaaS. Sadiq, can you move to the PaaS? Yeah. So in PaaS, what's happening is all of it, other than your application and data, is given by the cloud vendor, right? So here, so your OS and middleware runtime also is actually taken care by the hyperscaler. So example, Azure or AWS, they take care of it. All you have to worry is use the application. If you're using example Hello World, right, do a Hello World kind of an application. For the data, you are responsible for managing the data, but the databases and others are already there, right? You just have to subscribe as a service. Folks who are not speaking, request you to please go on mute. Third one is more with respect to the software as a service. Here, everything is managed and you are given as a service. Now, if you have to go back with the earlier example of the restaurant, IAS, where you have to cook your meal, you have to get everything is a combination of on the left hand side. But example, if the vegetable vendor actually comes to your place and gives you the vegetable, is more of the IAS on the cloud. The third one is the platform as service, where you get to ready-made mode, where MTR or ready to cook kind of a mode, where all of it is there, but you still have to actually go and cook and put some ingredients on your spices or a salt depending on your need. Fourth one is everything is taken care. Where you go to a restaurant, everything is taken care. So I hope we are able to actually look at it. Now there are various customer scenarios based on which you can get into any of these scenarios. So what we do in cloud world as a living, me, Sadiq, and couple of colleagues on the call here, right, is we do assessments for customer, we do consulting for customer, try to figure out where exactly they are in the journey and whether for them what exactly is suited, whether a private cloud is suitable, public or hybrid, whether for them IaaS is suitable, PaaS or a SaaS, right? And then we actually get into a cloud migration and then get into a support as such. Okay, next slide, please. So please keep asking questions, right? When I stop speaking, I'll let Sadiq, right? I'll also start answering, but it's difficult to both check the chats. I'll let Sadiq take care of the questions. But feel free to put the questions, even if you're not able to cover it now, we'll ensure that after this session also we'll try and look at it. So now what are the various different types of cloud providers, right? So predominantly they are three. Today they are four or five also. In my uh, experience, right, I've gone through a lot of it, right? So the first and foremost is AWS, right, which actually started with Amazon, right? So Amazon was initially, as you know about their history, right, they started off with selling servers, and they actually got into a mode, sorry, selling books, right? And they wanted somewhere where e-commerce portal where they can actually sell books. Then they started selling something else. That is how they started a portal, and then they figured out further they require some scalable infrastructure. And when they got into that infrastructure, they got into a mode wherein they were able to actually scale up or down depending on the need. So example, if there was a Christmas sale, I mean, there's not a Diwali in US, but at least a Christmas or a Thanksgiving sale, right? They're able to actually pump in the compute or the storage resources. And then when the sale is over, they were actually able to get it. Later on, Jeff, right, realized that, hey, why can't I give this as a service to someone? That is how AWS was started. So that is where you see AWS is more popular. Actually, it was started in 2006, and it has got various other concepts, right? So example, it's got various availability zones, regions, and if you really have to compare, AWS has more high profile and well-known customers like Netflix, Airbnb, BBC, BMW, Facebook, and all of this, right, as such. So predominantly the initial journey of small or medium based customers where AWS got into, and today they're still hooked on. It's a one-way ticket. Some of them have not got out of it. Second is Microsoft Azure. It started as Windows Azure. It started in 2010, around 10 years back. And when it started, it was more on the platform as a services, because they started with the application services. But when Satya Nadella actually took over the realms of Microsoft, they actually figured out that it will be in a mode wherein they had to compete with Amazon. And then they figured out if they are in PaaS, right, it was the second generation, right? So if you have not gone into the infrastructure as a service or infrastructure, application development comes later. And AWS was actually doing both of it. So that is when Microsoft changed the strategy with Satya coming in, and he started both IaaS and PaaS. One beautiful thing which they had is they had a lot of enterprise agreements with respect to all the organization. They were able to convert that enterprise agreements into more of the infrastructure basis, right? So that is where it was launched. And today, a lot of customers, big customers like Boeing, Polycom, Fujifilm, and a lot of, right, are actually using stuff, right? And AZ is nothing but availability zone. There's a little bit advanced concept which we'll probably take it a little later. Third is Google, which we all know. Google was famous for its search. For its search, it had to actually get into a lot of compute, uh, performance, and other aspects of it. Example, as soon as you hit search, it had to do some computation in the back, get you the search result. For that, they built their own data center. They built their own network to ensure that wherever, be it India, US, China, Timbuktu, right, wherever you are, if you are able to actually get into a search, it gets it back. And again, they found out, okay, we are doing for all of this, we have this infrastructure, why can't we give it to someone else? There are other clouds which are not listed. Again, I'm not getting into each and everything, but it's here. The other clouds are IBM cloud, which even we have been working on, but IBM tend to be more expensive. The what companies like IBM Software and Bluemix, they try to actually integrate with it, but they also are in the market. but they're not with the top three. Then the other company is called Alibaba, which is China company, which is Alibaba.com, is very similar to your Google and Amazon sites, right? They are also definitely getting into a mode wherein they're giving a lot of competition, but I'll not get into the other aspect of it. But for our discussion purpose, most of the customers are using one of these three. So with this, we'll get to the next slide, please. So what, so why are we doing all this, right? Today, the awareness which we want to create is for all you folks here is, right, things are changing. So whatever we had learned once upon a time is not what we can. We no longer want to look at ABCD. We don't want to look at just speaking English, right? We just don't want to look at storage, compute, don't want to look at Java, .NET, right? So we want to look at how things are moving. The message which we want to pass is there was a digital disruption for cars, which was Uber, right? Similarly, COVID-19 is a digital disruption or a job opportunity disruption, where as cloud adoption is on the rise amid COVID, enterprises are looking for more and more cloud experts. So what does this mean? That some companies which were thinking that they will move to cloud after 5 years, 10 years, or I'll do it later, or yeah, my competition is doing, I'll do it, all had to, with a switch of a button last year, were forced into cloud. That means that with work from home being uh, a only solution, where you have people at home, all you needed is storage, a laptop and a laptop and an internet connection. With this, a lot of people had moved on to cloud, right? So people started using Zoom, Teams to actually start, and then there was an era where suddenly everything, right from even the desktop and other things, actually started moving on to the cloud, right? So there is a huge number of opportunity which suddenly came in. And if you really look at some of these reports, right, cloud computing market in India is expected to reach around 4 billion, right? And 2 days back also I read something in Times of India saying that cloud computing is the thing to look at it, right? And there is a surge in the job market. The cloud computing job roles will be somewhere around a few millions or thousands of jobs as such. And if you really look at the numbers which is there on LinkedIn, right, so 58,000 plus cloud computing jobs, all
This is
company.
today's result. The LinkedIn, the post whatever we had given is today's search results. Yeah.
Today's search result, you just go and search LinkedIn and just say cloud computing jobs, it will actually tell you how many, which company requests what of it. So that means this session what you're attending is important. And one more thing, right, this is what I was referring to, right, 2 days back, right, or yesterday, right, 2021 will see a big war for cloud skills, right? All companies are really looking for cloud. Now again, just knowing cloud is not enough. You need to be expert. That is what we'll try and actually help and guide you folks. So in short, cloud is the way. There is no other choice. There is no other doubt for it. But you probably have to see if you can try and get into this. So with this, there are opportunities. We'll try and guide you how to actually get into that. So we'll get to the next slide, please. So now what we'll do is, we have learned, if I have to just summarize, right, what is cloud computing? We got into what are the various types of cloud, which is private, public, and hybrid cloud. We talked about what is IaaS, what is PaaS, what is SaaS. Then we talked about what are the various types of cloud providers, which is Amazon, Microsoft Azure, and Google. Today, now we'll just quickly get into a little bit of what is Azure. We'll not get into too much of details, but at a very high level. So again, if you really look at, guys, can you please go on mute if you don't mind? Thank you. Can the organizers please put people on mute? Okay. So if you look at it from our IaaS PaaS and services, here Azure, which is from Microsoft, also gives us a mode wherein we get into infrastructure. So infrastructure as a IaaS, infrastructure as a service for your compute, storage, networking, and security and identity. Identity is nothing but your user authentication, creating a user, be able to actually specify what, how much can you use, what can you use, what access do you have, right? So that is more with respect to the infrastructure, which is below, right? On once you get into the platform as a service, you can actually start developing websites with just using your PaaS components. You can actually build a mobile application just by going and taking a subscription and getting into a little bit of the application and other aspects. You can actually get into a database, create a database, and be able to hook it to your application. All of this within a few seconds and clicks, as long as you have a credit card or a subscription.
Really sorry, Moin. I think there is an interruption.
No, no problem. Used to it with working from home. We used to it, but that's fine.
Yeah. Actually, the background noise is, interrupting the meeting. So someone can please mute that.
Sure, sure. So, guys, not a problem. Only thing is sometimes it stops your flow of thoughts. Again, humble request. Please go on mute. I know it's a weekend. But this is interesting, or if not interesting, right? It is a good topic which will probably get you to the next curve of your career or life as such. So
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So with respect to the server, let's right. So I'll try to get into a little bit of some examples, right? So example database, you'll be able to get it. Now, as long as you are able to get a subscription, either it could be free, which most companies give, or used by credit card, or probably get a voucher, you'll be able to get into it, create an end-to-end website on a mobile or without a mobile, and use databases, use a lot of things like Internet of Things. Internet of Things is nothing but you can actually Ford and a lot of companies are using, where the metrics of an engine are collected and passed on to the server on the cloud, right? Someone will look at the metrics and see whether your engine is fine. If it is going low on the oil, or it really requires service, or it can get into a mode where it can break down, right? The Ford or Maruti or a lot of these guys, right, Suzuki companies would know in advance and actually give a call to the car guy saying that, hey, your car really needs a service, either you stop or be wherever it is, we can actually send it. So this is where Internet of Things and other things. Media is a service where, example, Zoom, right, is a very good example. You'll be able to actually create a Zoom meeting for any of your customers as such. So this is on the server side. On the top is more on the edge services, where you, rather than getting the compute from somewhere, you're actually getting it to a device. I just talked about one such thing, which example for a car, right? You're able to get the computing software to wherever you want, rather than where it should be, right? Actually, you can get it to a car, you can get it to a mobile, you can get it to a wearable. We are actually starting a lot of us use the mobiles, right? The smart or fit watches, right? It will be able. These are all the edge devices where the computing actually happens on your watch. After it has happened, it gets pushed to the server, and then you get a report, and then you can actually get compared over there. So Azure, Microsoft Azure gives you the IaaS, PaaS, and the SaaS kind of a mode, and you'll be able to look at it. One more word of caution: a lot of people can go and use a credit card, but one word of caution is, please ensure whatever you start, you stop the services. Otherwise, you'll get a good hefty credit card bill. So if you don't know, please don't try it, or take some help from the expert, or take a subscription which is on a smaller value. And anything which you start, example, when you get into a room, when you get in, turn the light on or a fan on. When you get out of the room, you should turn the light off over there. Otherwise, the fan or the light will be running the power consumption. At the end of the month, you get a bill. Very similar here on the cloud. If you don't switch off things, as long as you want it, you can keep on moving it. But if you think that I've turned it on and recklessly you just go and don't use it, you will get a bill. You cannot go with it. So in short, please be very cautious about it. So with this, we can actually get into the next slide. Right. So here, once we get in, if you see for Microsoft Azure, right, these are some of the services which are there. The bottom ones are the ones which are the infrastructure services. For compute, you have virtual machines, containers, and other aspects. For storage, you can actually store something blob, like example, your media and other files you can actually store on a blob. Your physical files can be stored on Azure files. There are storages which are standard and premium. Premium example, if you have workloads like SAP and a lot of others, you can actually get into premium storage. Then networking, right? There are various ways to actually ensure that you get onto the cloud. Then you will be able to balance the load, right? Depending on the load. Today we have got around 69 folks actually, or around 100 odd participants here, right? So tomorrow if you actually get into something like 10,000, we'll still be able to manage without actually calling Zoom and saying that, hey, I want to increase something, right? So that balancing of load and other things all are taken care using the networking components. So below whatever you see are your storage compute network. So in short, IaaS is nothing but compute, storage, networking, and security services. Next, platform as a service is more with respect to where your infrastructure is taken care, but you can actually use your compute and your application development tools and IoT and data as a service, right? So basically, you want a database, you don't need to go and procure a server and Oracle license and install over there. All of them will be ready. All you have to do is actually say that I want a SQL server license over there, or a MongoDB license over there. You'll actually get it over there. And similarly, if you want to develop a web or a mobile application, clicking of a few buttons using the top middle layer, right, web app and other things, you will be able to build it and also be able to share data using API. And if you want to convert it into a mobile app, you can use a mobile app as such. And then there are various tools on the right hand side which is more on the developer services. There's a Visual Studio, there is a Teams project where you can actually do networking. There are various services wherein you can actually build the tool, test it, and other aspect of it. I'm sorry, I'll just drink some water. And on the right hand side, right, you get a lot of these data services which I spoke about, like your databases, your cache, if you want to do a search engine on top of it, right? All of this, it comes with inbuilt features. All you have to do is subscribe to the service. You don't have to worry about the infrastructure, how it works. Take it and use it in your code with some parameters as such. Now someone is asking what is best role in cloud computing, right? So we'll get there, Mr. Mansoor. Give us some time. On the left hand side there is media and CDN, right? So which is nothing but CDN. Media is the like example, like if you want to host a web or a video meeting like this, right? You should be able to do it on yourself. You don't need to rely on Zoom, but most customers would like to have their own media services, or you want to actually stream any session like this, or store it somewhere and be able to access it across geography. You'll require the CDN, that is where it is. I'm not going to get into all the services. It's a little intense course which we probably can do it little later. And on the left hand side is very important, which is security, right? How do you ensure what is the access to be given, who are the users, what are the automation which you can give, if there are any passwords, can you keep it in a vault is nothing but your locker kind of a thing. There's something called a key vault services which you can probably use and get into it. So in short, if you really see, right, anything to do with infrastructure, platform as a service, security, and those aspects are all covered in Azure services, and you can actually learn to be part of using this and start using it in your projects and be an expert. Next slide, please. Sadiq, next slide, please. Okay, so with this, right, I have, at least I'll try to summarize before I hand over the baton to Mr. Sadiq. So here we had learned what is cloud. We have learned what are the various types of cloud, private, public, and hybrid. Then we got into what are the various types of cloud vendors, and then what is IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. We also got you a bird's eye view of what is Azure, what are the services which it gives, and some real life example like Uber, restaurant, and others as such. So with this, the famous question, hey, how do I get certified? What do I need to do? But one thing I just, before I hand it over to Sadiq and I take control of the chat, humble request, don't take certification for the heck of it. You can get certified. I'll tell you how to get certified in a day or in 1 hour. But both me and Sadiq always tried being global leaders. We strive hard to actually get into a mode where we say that don't do certification for the heck of it, right? Learn, practice, whatever you're doing, ensure that you're an expert. This kind of skills are there which will actually help you in your career. Even if you have to get to the number of LinkedIn jobs which we talked about, someone will come to know within half an hour that you have just cleared a certification by hook or crook. Don't get into that. We'll tell you how to learn and do and practice. Please ensure that you take care of it. With this, thanks. I'll hand it over to Sadiq. Probably you have taken a little more time, but I just wanted to ensure that we get into little depth. Over to you, Mr. Sadiq.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much for your time, as well as giving the in-depth explanation for each and every topic on the cloud. With this, I'll move on to the certification tracks. Microsoft Azure is giving multiple certifications. They have started with the foundation level certification to the till expert level certifications. These certifications are covering a few certification for the administrator, few certification for the database admins, few certification for the developers, as well as few for the business analysts. Right? I will walk through what are the certifications available from the Microsoft. Move on, right? What I said, right? They are targeted, few certification target for admins. When I say the administrators, could be they are from the Windows background or Linux background or from the database background. Yes, there is a development background who is coming up with the development code background, whether it is Java, .NET, or it is an IoT. Those certification tracks are available from Microsoft. Right. Once if you already have an experience or 10 to 8 years experience, who is already having some exposure to the cloud, then you can choose your Azure Architect certification. If someone is already having a development background, who is working on either Visual Studio or Teams Foundation server, who they want to become DevOps geeks, yes, there is another track is available, which is a DevOps engineer track, where you can write one exam, become a DevOps engineer. Right? If you want to become a DevOps expert, yes, that is also available. Just that will be covering in upcoming slides. Okay. Here, this is a tracks of Microsoft certifications. In the foundation level, they have a Azure fundamentals for each and every track. For Azure fundamentals, when it comes to the looking at Azure infra, there is a certification name called Az500. At the same time, there is a fundamental certification for Microsoft O365. Same for Dynamics as well as for the Power Platform. Right? For the associate level certifications, there is an Azure Administrator certificate. This is very much relevant for the people who comes from the infrastructure background, either a Windows L1 administrator or L2 administrator or Linux administrator. There is a certification for the developers. What I said earlier, the same whoever comes with the .NET or Java or PHP background. There is associate level certification for the cloud security. Who comes from the networking background or security background, who will be predominantly working on either firewalls, load balancers, or application gateways. For them, Az105, which is security certification, is more relevant for them. At the same time, whoever wants to upskill themselves on the data platform, which is your machine learning and data science, it should we can go whether Azure data science or Azure AI engineer or data engineer, right? When it comes to the modern workspace, which is completely focused towards your Microsoft 365 enterprise administration, whoever is coming from collaboration services experiences or expertise, which is predominantly either if you are from a IBM Lotus Notes or you are from a Exchange administrator or a SharePoint administrator, I would strongly recommend to go ahead and take this Microsoft 365 certifications. If someone is an IP TV or Vivo IP engineer who wants to switch their career towards cloud, right? There is a team certification, right? That which is predominantly taking a lot of market share when it comes to the VoIP solution in the market. Moving to the business applications, yes, Microsoft has a very large market share as well as services and products when it comes to the Dynamics. The Dynamics 365 is a competitor for, it is a CRM product as well as they have multiple modules. He is giving the big competition in the market for the SAP products, right? Whatever the SAP is offering today, most of your D365 products are available to compete with your SAP, right? There is other certification called Specialization Certification. Who this is just only included last year for a few of the certifications. One is for if you are an you are an administrator, an architect or an SME who has an experience on administrating SAP workloads on Azure. Yes, there is a specialization certification for SAP on Azure. At the same time, for if you are a developer who already have 1 or 2 years experience or build some of the platforms or applications on IoT, there is a certification called Azure IoT Developer Certification. I'll move on. The same thing for each and everything. We strongly recommend to go ahead with the fundamental certifications, right? If someone wants to take they want to start their track either infra side or development side or an security side or a data platform side. When I say the data platform, either you want to become a data scientist or you want to become a AI engineer, right? For that, you must have to complete AZ900, but AZ900 is not mandatory for any of the associate level certifications. But we strongly recommend to have a great in-depth knowledge, better to go with AZ900, which is a infra specific curriculum. But after that, if someone wants to go with data platform, then there is a foundation basic certification is available from Microsoft is AZ900. Whoever wants to go towards AI, there is an AI 900 certification is available. Suppose example, I want to take here some real world scenarios or move. Suppose if you are coming from a BPO sector, right? If you move your career towards an Azure, right, I would strongly recommend to go ahead with AZ900, then take this AZ104, which is your Azure Administrator Associate certification. Or if you don't want to spend your money on both certifications, right, you can directly write a certification AZ104. Then you can, after clearing the certificate, you will be getting a title as a administrator, Azure Administrator credentials from Microsoft.
Sorry to interrupt. Actually, how much cost for the certification exam cost?
Yeah, actually, this is $150 USD, but in India, for some reason, they are offering for $85. Okay. At the same time, I don't know still that offer is available or not. Earlier, Microsoft offered whoever lost their jobs due to the COVID, they were offering the certification prices for $15.
Okay. So where I can check that details actually in Microsoft
You can go to the
partner
Microsoft
website.
site. If you see the link below in this, right, has got the details. You can check that out.
Can you tell us more about Microsoft Teams for someone who's coming from VoIP background?
Sorry, what was the question, please?
Can you tell us more about Microsoft Teams? Someone who's coming from VoIP background, what is it that he can do?
Okay, so what you could probably get into is more. You can start off with AZ900, get into Azure Administrator, and there is something called DW. Now there's something called M365, which has come. There's a certification for M365. You could probably use that.
Sadiq sir mentioned that there is a certification in Microsoft Teams for a VoIP engineer. Could you please just elaborate more on that?
Yeah, sure. You guys can just give us 10 seconds. Let the Azar get over, if you don't know.
All right.
Sorry guys, right? I had shared the certification page where you will be getting a lot of information, right? Which track and which you have to select which certification, as well as price or fee for each and every certification. Okay. Okay. Suppose you are coming from BPO. Then I said you have to start with AZ900, then take 104. Then you start your cloud journey. Before going to that, you must have to have some OS knowledge. Either spend some time to learn on Windows admin skills or Linux administration skills, so that you can start your career towards the cloud as a cloud admin. Right? Suppose you are coming from development background, but you don't know anything about the cloud. Yes, there is some certifications you have. We recommend to go ahead with AZ900, then AZ104. Even though if you have you are a app background or development background, but we strongly recommend to go ahead with 104. Then you take 204, because whatever you are going to learn in the 204, right? Half of the portion will be coming from your 104, which is especially your compute storage and network, and few of the app services and monitoring will coming from 104. In the cloud, most of the time you will be playing with code, irrespective of you are from the application background or from the infra background. Nowadays, if you are saying if you are a pure infrastructure guy, you don't want to code, it would be very difficult you to survive today in cloud roles. That is the reason you have to have infra knowledge as well as the development knowledge. If you are not a pure developer, at least you should have the scripting and few of the automation skills by using your either bash scripting or PowerShell or ARM.
Okay, just to add on to what Sadiq was saying, right? The trend which we are seeing with our customers, or including what we are working is, full stack developers is what is really in demand. So that means that you need to know end to end, right from your infrastructure, application, testing, right, all of that. And if possible, someone read about SRE, which is called Site Reliability Engineer. Just read about that concept. You guys will probably learn. And I am seeing a lot of people more interested on this certification and that certification. Again, one humble request to all, right? I know sometimes it's good to get certified directly, right? But if you don't have the fundamentals, you might not be able to connect the dots. You might be able to get something at one shot, but little later, right, you might find it a little difficult. So like what Sadiq is suggesting in the slide, right? Start off with AZ900. Yeah, sometimes the cost might be difficult or something, but what we would suggest is keep the end goal in mind. You don't have to take all the certification. At least when you're preparing, you'll actually come to know about some subject, and then you can actually keep on adding to that, right? So you start with AZ900, prepare for it. If you're able to give it, go ahead and give it, and then you get into the next one. So there, what you're doing is you are trying to cover infrastructure, application, and testing, and a lot of those concepts, so that you don't get into a mode where you're certified but you don't get a job. Over to you, Sadiq. Sadiq, you're on mute, I think.
Thanks, mate. Whoever is coming from the network background, we strongly recommend to go ahead with AZ500 certification. AZ500 covers predominantly your threat protection, AIP, as well as your Azure firewall, as well as Sentinel. These are the Azure native network as well as security products available in Azure. You will be learning if you are choosing Azure Security Engineer certification. There are other few certifications, especially Microsoft introduced last year, which is a data platform on the AI and ML. Right? Suppose if you want to become an AI engineer, you have to complete an exam called AI100, which is designing and implementing Azure data solutions. Suppose if you want to become a data scientist, right? You have to complete DP100, which hello. Okay. You have to complete a DP100, design and implementing the data science and solution on Azure certification. Right. At the same time, suppose if you are coming from a database background, who has either Oracle or SQL or MySQL experience, there are two certifications available for them. You can take either DP 200 or 201 or DP 300, which will you will get an exposure on SQL as well as a few of the PaaS offerings, database offerings from Microsoft, as well as your Microsoft Synapse, which is analytical platform today from Microsoft. These are the certifications available. When earlier I said, right, there is a DevOps expert certification. If you are going to complete only one certification, which is Az500, you will be called as a DevOps engineer. If you can able to complete either 104 or along with Az400, you will be entitled as Azure DevOps expert from Microsoft. Either you can choose 104 plus Az400, or you can choose 204 plus Az400 to become a DevOps expert. Right. Earlier, Microsoft was very much inclined with Microsoft technology, but whereas your Azure DevOps certification is an open certification. It's not only measuring your skills on only the Microsoft products, out of Microsoft product, as well as few of the open source products available in the markets. When you are becoming an Azure DevOps expert, you have to have all these skills. Right. Moving forward, the same thing what I covered in earlier slide. There is a role-based fundamental, associate, and expert. Earlier slide I hadn't mentioned what exams you have to write. This I had given the exam codes, right? If you want to become an admin 104, you have to complete. For Azure developer associate level, it is 204. And the same AI engineer, AI 100, data scientist, DP 100. The specialization is SAP on Azure AZ120 as well as IoT developer AZ220 certifications you have to complete.
So just to add on, right? Fundamental is the basic one. Associate is for engineer level kind of a mode. Expert is more of a architect. Speciality is more of getting into a specific stream.
Okay. Thanks, man. Yeah. The same thing, right? Whoever is coming from your database administration, sorry, not from your messaging administration, especially either you are managing your O365 or you are from Exchange, Microsoft Exchange or IBM Lotus Notes. For them, it is Microsoft the O365 certifications are very much helpful. It is also the 3 levels are available. One is foundations, associate, and expert level. Whoever wants, right? Someone asked, right? Suppose if they are coming with a Vivo IP background, okay, there is a Microsoft 365 Teams administration is available for them. They can take that certification. They can move forward, right? Because when it comes to the Microsoft suite of products, right? Especially Microsoft 365, it is not a single product, right? If we're coming with O365 or Vivo IP knowledge or experience, Just you cannot stick to the only the Teams administration, right? With that, you have to be, because most of these Teams features are very much collaborated with your backend exchange, which is messaging. You must have to learn messaging administration also, right? Suppose whoever is coming from VoIP background, I strongly recommend to go ahead with the Teams administrator and messaging administrator, if possible, with enterprise admin. In enterprise admin, you will be learning as well as IAM also, which is Azure AD, Azure tenant, how to manage and maintain, as well as how to manage the RBAC roles for the for users or contributors or owners. I'll move on. If someone coming from the development background who wants to very much interested towards O365, especially the guys who worked as a SharePoint designer or SharePoint developer, yes, for them they can be very much inclined with this Microsoft 365 developer certification. I'll move on. This is also the same, right? Whoever is wants to move towards business applications, who are functional consultants, right? There are multiple D365 certifications are available for them. That I already shared a link. Go there, the search for D365 will get all the certifications, right? There is a track for finance. There is a supply chain management. There is a finance and operation. There is a field service functional consultant certification, as well as customer service functional consultant. There are most of these certifications are consultant level certification for each track. Either call it as a marketing or sales or customer service or field service. I'll move on. Okay, any questions before? Any questions on certification tracks?
So could you please just go to the previous slide? In regards to the VoIP certifications, you mentioned that. You can just go to the previous slide. Yeah. So it's messaging administrator and the Teams administrator. There are the separate certification codes for them, or they are part of a particular paper in there.
So these are each are different certifications. Messaging administrator is different. Teams administrator is different. Modern desktop administrator, which is Microsoft WDI, Microsoft VDI certification.
So for a VoIP engineer who's from a Cisco or any Avaya background or anything, if they want to shift to Azure Teams certifications, so they have to go through Teams and messaging administrator and the Teams administrator.
See, because your Teams is very much integrated with your Microsoft messaging platform, right? As well as all your Teams administration is managed and maintained through your AD tenant. Unless you have the AD knowledge or messaging knowledge, it would be very difficult you to manage your Teams, right? If customer wants to migrate your Avaya platform or Cisco VoIP platform to the Teams, right? Just only VoIP knowledge will not enough. But Teams is completely relying on your exchange as well as AD tenant. You have to have that knowledge also.
All right, got it.
Thank you. There is no mandatory associate level certifications to become a admin level or become an administrator on Azure or associate level certifications. We recommend to get the knowledge, but not spend the money to clear the Az900 series exams. Okay, I'll go through. This I'm going through some questions here.
No, I have been answering those questions.
Okay, sure.
See, most of the question I'll probably take 30 seconds on this, right? Again, we are not here to just promote Azure. End of the day, cloud computing is what we are looking. We are, both of us are certified in both or multi-clouds as such. Azure is whereas we do as a living, or Microsoft. AWS, there's a lot of demand. There's a lot of people in the market. You'll get, but Azure, the number of people are less, but the demand is more. So it's the right time to actually get into. So we're not saying this or that, right? We ourselves are multi-cloud, because when we speak to the customer, you need to know what is there in the various clouds, right? What are the pros and cons? So humble request is probably can start with one, look at one, be an expert, and then can get into multi-cloud. Now again, we leave it to you. Where do you want to go? AWS, Azure, or something? Uh, that that is not of importance. But you getting onto cloud and trying to choose something like what Sadiq was saying. So if you're on voice, you already are doing something which is there. Try and see which will get you upliftment in your career, or getting a better job or a promotion. What is there is what you probably look at it, and then try and do that, rather than trying to do too many things at this point of time. Once you've got that, you can actually put a career path and see what you want to go. Other questions was, should I take associate, should I take an expert, and other things, right? Start with associate, and once you get it, get into the expert, right? That's what I would do. But if you have experience, example 10 years, 15, 20 years of experience, you can directly go to an architect. You don't need to actually do an associate. Example, I have never done an associate certification. Always do a architect certification, right? Because you already have that experience. You have to use it along with the fundamentals here. I hope it helped some of the questions. Someone is asking, Mr. Mobin, right? Is fundamental mandatory? It's like, sorry, but I mean, if you already know what is storage, compute, network, what are the availability zones and others, you don't need to do it. You don't need, I mean, if you don't want to spend money on that fundamental, not a problem. Then your end goal should be trying to get into an expert level. But for a knowledge base, if you don't know, we suggest you go one step at a time. Sorry, Sadiq, over to you.
Thanks, Ben. At the same time, if someone, if few of the students are available, these are the Microsoft benefits available for students. For student need not to enter their credit card information, but these benefits are available for everyone who wants to learn as well as have some practical experience in Azure, right? Microsoft is offering near about $200 Azure credits for free. You can subscribe for free. Search for Azure free subscription or Azure free on Google. It will take you into the Microsoft site where you can register with your credit card. You can start utilizing these services.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Mujib. I think my question is more for Moin bhai. I'm into functional automation testing for about 14 years and wanted to step into cloud. So what do you think would be more relevant? Because I'm not looking for certification as of now, just want to get practice and step into cloud. So what would be the most relevant skill for me?
I would suggest you get into Az500. You'll get basics of cloud. For you, probably a little bit of developer background, right, is what would probably help you. So that way what happens is development and testing, so that the application related or associate level on the application will get you a little bit of application and testing. So it will be helpful for you. And you can start getting into cloud projects as a testing domain. So that way what happens is you're not just doing the traditional testing. You know how to test for a storage, compute, performance, automation, and a lot of other things, right? You can start using it. And there is something called Azure DevOps, or the example, even AWS has got DevOps. So if you're able to get into the DevOps, you'll be able to do DevOps related testing in that also.
Okay. Jazakallah.
Okay, thank you.
Adding to mine, if today if you are already using some testing platforms, most of the testing vendors started their cloud offerings as well as the cloud certifications.
Correct.
Along with DevOps, if you do some certification from specific vendors,
Correct.
Yeah, that would help.
So you can do a Az900 and then directly go to the testing platform. That will give you a added edge to your career.
Sure. Got it. Thank you.
Yep. I have one question. Can I proceed?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yep. So I have 10 years of experience in infrastructure, and when I was with Wipro organized one on on-premise training from a Microsoft instructor. We attended and we certified. So even I certified 7335. And after that, I moved to project transition, and I did not get opportunity to re-summarize and read what I learned from there and practice. So I did not get the opportunity. So what I am thinking, how can I restart it and to on Azure, because I did on few days, or not, sorry, few months back. AWS also I tried, but what I learned from the AWS, if you more comfortable with Linux flavor, then AWS is the best choice. But Azure, if you're comfortable with the Windows. So I'm comfortable. I'm in Windows and I'm hands-on on scripting knowledge. So how can I like quick start on it and will move to the cloud?
See, what I would
Okay.
suggest is, right,
Go ahead, man.
Sadiq,
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, man.
see, my experience goes is like probably you can take up few test labs, right? Either you get a subscription and try and see if you can take the lot on the internet. You also can probably help with few scenarios, right, where you can probably start practicing those scenarios using the test labs, right, and then try and brush up your skills. And then probably see, again, as I told in the start, right, certification is just to get certified, but if you don't have the hands-on experience, you'll have a little bit. And since you don't have the project experience, or your project might or might not be giving an opportunity, try and see if you can do some community projects, is what I would say. Sadiq, do you want to add?
See, a lot of people has a misconception. Just only your AWS is more inclined with Linux and Azure is more inclined with Microsoft. It is not like that, right? Even Microsoft also today, it's open for everything, right? Microsoft is adopted open standard when Satya Nadella took over as a CEO position, right? Now both clouds are supporting your Linux and Azure Microsoft workloads. If you are very much strong on Microsoft, right? Everyone is looking on the cloud is automation. Be guru in your PowerShell scripting, then in ARM. It's up to you whether you want to choose either Microsoft or AWS.
And there is something called Terraforms, right, which is agnostic, right, where you can actually use for both AWS or Azure or any of those scripts, right? So as long as you know scripting and learn something called Terraform and probably get into Terraform kind of certification, you will can work on any of the other clouds. That time you will require the knowledge of using the APIs of AWS and Azure. And like what Sadiq also said, right, we have done great projects on SAP on Azure on Linux. So again, we're repeating again, we are not here to just promote Microsoft Azure. I mean, end goal is we want you to take something which will definitely help you out. But there is a misconception saying that Java workloads is AWS, .NET is Microsoft. No, no longer. It used to be 5 or 6 years back, but today all workloads work everywhere. Both Windows and Linux work on both AWS, Azure, and GCP.
Yeah, just a color.
Okay, thanks. Good. If you guys don't mind, Sadiq, you have any other slides, or we can take questions otherwise? Questions, is it okay?
Yeah, I have a question to Moin.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, see, I spent more than a decade in telecom industry. I'm into business development, so I want to pursue my career in cloud business. So you said no, Az900 could be the start point. So is there any other skill set one should add from the sales perspective, so to get into this business, Moin?
No, so if I really look at it, right, when you're looking at sales, right, so what you predominantly might have been doing so far is you might either be selling, if you can just give a little background, what have you been selling? I know telecom, but is it
Complete
more
enterprise
of
solutions? Complete enterprise solutions.
Enterprise solutions. So
Yeah.
if you look at your telcos also, right, so what they're trying to do is they have the infrastructure, right, but they don't have something built, right. So in those cases, what we have seen is, even I work with a lot of telcos, they would like to probably build something on open source and a lot of those stacks, right? So once you get into Az900 or AWS equivalent, at least you will know how to actually build and talk about it. You can actually next get into a lot of business cases or scenarios where you could probably, if for a telco example, OSS, BSS kind of a mode, right? What are the portals which you can actually build? And then third or other thing, right, is more of API and other integrations, right? So example, telcos would give a lot of data or again get the data, right? And a lot of those aspects of it, right? So how you can use cloud to probably start doing a cross sell, either by subscription or by sharing data using APIs and others, it would be helpful. For that, if you get into this fundamental and others, you'll at least have a fair idea of what is this IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, and other aspects of it. And then what you can start doing is, for telco related stuff, how can you build business or specific use cases which leveraging cloud, it will be easier for them. For example, CDN, right? Typically, you'll use Akamai, but if you are using from a cloud, right, you use Azure CDN or AWS CDN, right? And how can that be beneficial? And if you have to do a cost comparison with respect to a traditional Akamai with respect to Azure or AWS, right, it will be sort of helpful. When you speak to your customers, you can actually start telling them this is how these are the scenarios, and you can also look at the cost comparison and other aspects. So I can go on, right? In short, you can do a business case with respect to how things are happening on-prem with or without cloud vis-a-vis any of these public or private cloud providers. And for a telco, mostly it will be a private cloud, example, be it Bharti or anyone, because they already have the servers and infrastructure and other things. All they want to do is they want to build it for themselves and give the service to someone else. So they might be getting into SaaS kind of a mode. I myself had worked sometime back for Bharti Airtel for a proposal for digital media exchange. There, they wanted to actually build a huge cloud kind of a solution where a digital media solution where they want to use the media or the bandwidth and start into cinema productions and other things, and including actually how to move from content from one place to another, security and other aspects of it. So did it answer your question?
Yeah, I got a fair idea about it. And anything apart from, so is there any allied things that, because, I was looking at digital transformation, and because, a lot of, customers are also talking about digital transformation over there, and cloud is a journey in that. Okay, so is there any other thing that we'll have to look at now in this journey so that I can build my,
No, for you, I would probably, for you specifically, once you get into AZ900 or the AWS things, there are few MBA specific programs for business analysts or the business managers where you can use to sort of realize something on digital. I think so. I would suggest you probably take that more on the non-technical stream, which will be probably beneficial for you.
Could you just please repeat that?
You can take up few MBA related or specializations on the business side, on the digital transformation aspects of it, where taking a business case, how you can actually transform. One thing which as a career path for business analyst in where we all work, or at least under me, is there's something called consulting and assessment. So example, for a customer, you go for your telco itself, go and look at the estate and probably say them what can get moved to cloud, what cannot get moved to cloud, and if you have to get to move to cloud, right, whether it will be IaaS, PaaS or SaaS, what will be the total cost of ownership with respect to their own premises vis-a-vis if they have to actually get into a cloud, right? All that comparison can be your career path. So for that, you might have to learn few tools. Example, if I have to talk about Cloudscape is one tool on the assessment, and then there is a tool called Azure Migrate from Microsoft, which you can probably start learning. So this will actually give you how to do an assessment on cloud or a digital estate, and give them a way forward or a business plan to move on to cloud. So this is what I would suggest for you.
Right. Thanks, Moin.
Yep. Hey, Kalim, just one question. Are you from development background, or are you from
No, he's a business
system? No. Even though he is system guy.
No,
When he
I'm
started
into
career.
pure. No, I'm not into development.
Be a business analyst. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So it will be on the assessment, Sadiq. Mostly on the consulting. I would say you are well suited for consulting and assessment. So your job would be how to sell people on cloud and show them the benefit to cloud. Interesting questions. Really happy to answer. Any other questions, folks? Kalim, did we answer your question, or Sadiq? I don't know if you wanted to add
No,
something.
yeah, I got it, Moin. Thanks.
Okay, I have posted a question as to how cloud is spanning versus the traditional products like SAP has a suite of analytics products. So is it threatening these kind of vendors, or what is the customer demand like?
Okay, Sadiq, you want to take it or?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Just already answered his question. Yeah, go ahead with you. Share your views.
Yeah, see, everyone wants to ensure that the cost is reduced. So, example, if you look at SAP, the compute cost used to be huge. Infrastructure maintenance cost used to be huge. Example, SAP had come up with their own HIC cloud, right, which didn't go very well. So today they're either going on Azure predominantly or AWS, right? And yes, there is a little threat for them. So one, if you're a SAP functional or Oracle functional guy and are able to understand how cloud works, that would be great stuff over there. The one thing is, in a traditional world, right, you have to actually look at more of computation for your servers and other aspects, bookkeeping and other things. But since people are moving on to cloud, right, they don't have to worry on the infrastructure planning and cost and a lot of optimization. But there are some things like SLA and other things which you have to take from end-to-end perspective, which comes from the application side, which is example your RPO, RTO, and a lot of other aspects of it. To answer your question, yes, there is a threat. A lot of people are moving. SAP was one of the biggest one, which we have moved almost 4 years back. I could see some of the cloud first cases over there. We're not giving a company name here, but we have done a lot of work where we have moved SAP onto Azure, and we have done a lot of automation also. So that means that yes, there's a little bit of threat, but some companies want to take it aggressively. Some people might do it, but I feel probably it will take a couple of years uh, to really move. But I feel just based on the trends, 4 or 5 or maximum 6 years, even all the SAP workloads will start getting moved there. And as a matter of fact, both SAP, Microsoft, and AWS are working together very hard to ensure there is cross leverage. So did it answer your question?
Yeah, but it answers partly because SAP actually comes with a very strong business or a functional maturity. Okay, so if I take an Azure,
I'll just pause. We are not changing SAP functionality. We are not threatening SAP functionality. What we are saying is, okay, I'll give an example. Okay, it is like staying in an individual house vis-a-vis an apartment. Cloud is an apartment. So if you have a TV in your house, you take the same TV and move to apartment. It's your same TV. Nothing for SAP and its functionality changes. The only thing is your storage compute network, which is nothing but your water, electricity, and other lift and other things, right? If it is your house, you have to take care of all of that. In an apartment, it is a common stuff, right? There's some common stuff and some specific stuff. So I'm sorry if we have not conveyed it properly. Cloud is not going to change functional aspects of SAP as such, but to host it, you require cloud. For that, you require a database.
Okay.
And other aspect of it. That part is released. So basically, two parts of it. Functional will be staying functional, but the infrastructure support part of it and the storage part of it, that cost will get reduced, and maintenance of that will get reduced if you move to cloud. Did I answer it now?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, apologies if we didn't make it clear, but yeah,
No worries.
this is not only for SAP, but anything, even for your application, .NET, Java, anything, right? So I was just telling Mr. Kalim, right, saying that consultancy, this is what we exactly do. We look at an estate, be it SAP or .NET application, a mainframe application, and we do something called a cloud viability or suitability assessment.
Actually, sir, the point is, if there is a customer, okay, and he has heavily invested in SAP, and now this cloud thing is coming up, and they come to you and say, okay, now boss, you tell me how will I reduce my total TCO, suppose, with this cloud coming into picture. So do I need to keep SAP? Do I need to go to a hybrid platform or what?
No, you'll
So
keep
that is
SAP.
what.
You'll keep SAP, but the cost to run on a on-prem or a hybrid, if you compare that TCO vis-a-vis on cloud, your infrastructure and operation cost reduces if you go on to cloud. Nothing else changes. Your functionality remains the same.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw that some in the PPT there was some sales and marketing and all those guys there. So that is a direct competition, I feel, to something like an SAP. So there were some
No, okay.
certifications there.
Okay, 1 minute. I'll just talk about some of it. Like Salesforce.com, which is your SaaS platform, right? So they give everything as a bundle. Example, SAP also is giving something as a bundle. You don't need to actually install SAP on your thing. They started with something called Heck, and then they also had one more thing. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting that. Sadiq, do you remember the SaaS version of SAP? You're on mute, Sadiq. Sadiq, you're on mute.
Yeah, earlier it was Hick. Nowadays they started with HANA also, as well as they have multiple products. They have SaaSified, and even analytics as well as a data warehousing product. Each and every product they are giving as a SaaS offering. Earlier, Hick is only for focused more on HANA.
Okay. Now, if I have to tell you, Mr. Altaf, or sorry, I don't know what's your first name. So Altaf is.
Yeah.
In that case, what happens is for SAP, right? You can either take SAP and have it, but if you use it as a SaaS version, the data is not residing in your customer premises. The data is residing in cloud. Most customers don't like it. So that is why, if you remember my earlier thing on private, public, and hybrid cloud, the decision, if the customer is paranoid about data being there in outside their premises, then they'll have to actually get into a hybrid kind of a mode. Otherwise, you can use a sales certification mode of SAP, and they can have the same features. Example, I'll just give you Outlook, right? You can have Outlook as a server, or you can go into M365 and everything can be on cloud.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anyone else?
So adding to cloud, when you are building a solution, right? Vendor will go whoever is cheap. Whether it was today, every vendor is offering whatever is your SAP is offering, especially when it comes to the analytics space, right? Microsoft is their own product, AWS has their own products. End of the day, you have to look at, okay, how reliable, okay, how expensive or how cheap the product and solution is.
But yeah, that is what my point was. Whether is it cheap is the thing which is driving, cost is driving, or use case is driving that that aspect.
No, it varies scenario to scenario as well as customer to customer based on his requirement.
Correct.
Until unless you dive deeper into the solution, you cannot conclude, okay, whether you are looking for the cheaper solution or you are looking for a reliable solution.
Yeah, because SAP is there in the market since maybe 2 or 3 decades, so they have their business knowledge or whatever wealth of information they have built. So my first question was that, is this directly going to threaten or kick them out of the market? So that is what my
see, that is going to happen. See, right? If see, right? If you take, right, either most of us, right, if you go back and see like 10 years before or 10 to 15 years before, we all are Nokia fans, right? Nokia could not able to adopt the Android on time. Now they are out of market. At the same time, whoever is today the market leaders, if they are not adopting the technology as well as they are not, especially when it comes to their pricing and futures, if they are not competitive enough with their competitors, they will be out of the market.
Example, Oracle. I'm sorry, I don't take name, but Oracle, like example, Oracle Cloud came a little later. If they'd have done what Microsoft done earlier and probably converted all of the data into either a PaaS or a SaaS module, right? They'd have retained most customers, which they've started now. Okay, getting some. Sorry, any other question?
Just to add to that point, which Moin and Sadiq were discussing towards SAP, I think those are two different things. SAP is more of an ERP, while Azure and AWS, those are more from cloud. So it wouldn't be fair to actually compare them.
Correct.
To actually replace them. So it's like oranges, not like oranges to oranges.
No, I would like to put a point here, because there are a lot of analytics driven products coming from AWS as well as Azure. That is what I've seen. So I don't know whether what you're saying is would be actually true. I understand that those are two different products, but in the analytics space I'm talking about specifically.
But
but
ERP wise, they've not. Okay, but I don't want to say that AWS or Microsoft. So see, interesting debate. Okay, if you have to really look at it, right? AWS and Azure also on GCP started with storage compute network. Then they started into PaaS. Then they've got into SaaS, right? And they're actually getting into a lot of areas. So there's no doubt they will be actually trying to look at where they can go next and probably get it into their services, right? So you are right. Both of you are right? But I think so. It will get into a mode where ERP companies are working with these companies also, so that they don't lose their pie. When they're proactively, actually SAP is working proactively with both Microsoft and AWS to ensure that they get certified and they cross leverage. But you cannot rule out saying that, example, analytics or any other things which someone would have gone for SAP and other aspects, these hyperscalers will not develop.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Zab, you were saying something. Zavi.
Moin, I have a question here. So since you've seen cloud journey so far, how do government customers perceive cloud computing? And because there's a lot of security aspects, moving the data of citizens and also the government data moving in the cloud. So how do you see the governments reacting to the cloud? And have you seen any government customers have put the data on the cloud, or is there
lots? Both AWS and Azure has got tons of experience. Pentagon, if you want to just Google Pentagon was ordered for Microsoft. Similarly, again, since it's government and others, we can't talk about it publicly. So there
specifically Indian government,
Indian governments, if you really look at it, as far as I know, like Andhra Pradesh government has actually been working, Telangana and others, right, have been working on lot on the cloud, and Microsoft and other colleagues are looking at. The only thing is their constraints and the compliance will be little different. So there are specific government cloud regions as such which are given if there is a need as such. But yes, projects are going on, people are using it, and it's in progress is what I would say.
Any specific use case for reference? Any use case for reference?
I could check out, because at least I don't work on the Indian. I'm more of a global Indian. I don't have. Sadiq, would you know of anyone? Or I can check. I can take this question and get back.
See, mine, most of this is confidential. No one want to share mine because.
So that's the other thing, right? Even if you ask me for a US customer, I will not be able to open my mouth. But in short, let's take your Aadhaar only, right? You don't know what cloud it is on, like, because it might be using cloud, and for that matter, it might be using a private cloud. If not a public cloud, it might be using a private cloud. But it will definitely using a cloud, because it's all taken care of.
Because I'll tell you the reason why I had encountered one of the situation where most of the government data is hosted in SDCs, your state data centers, or I just want to understand, has the government also realized the importance of cloud and moving the data in the cloud? So that's where I was coming from.
No, they have. They are. So go ahead, Sadiq.
See, because right now each and everything is whatever you are doing on your smartphone or your laptop is tracked by our government. It is mandatory for your service providers to keep your all activities, all logs for 7 years with them, right? I am 100% sure all our data is available with our government. Either I'm 100% sure there could be on their own private clouds, right? As well as big time they are analyzing each and everyone's data.
And in every social network and others are obliged to give information. So that's there, right? So sorry, we don't want to, this is a little sensitive topic. Definitely want to debate, not probably on a public forum, but to answer your question, yes, governments are moving on to cloud. It could be hybrid cloud. I'm not sure if it is totally public cloud as such. And even if it is a public cloud, the data residency might or might not be along with others, is what I would like to say. Okay. Unfortunately, can't give you a lot of details due to a lot of NDA and other things we are holding.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Sure.
Just to add 2 cents to it, I think the US government's majority of that lies with Azure.
No, yeah, because we've been talking too much of Azure, I didn't want to say that. But AWS has got a lot of it. I myself have worked on a lot of it. As a mandate, if I have to just tell you, right, they require citizens. I mean, a non-citizen cannot work on those projects, or you require a green card in US.
Yep.
Okay, interesting
Brothers,
question.
Assalamu alaikum. Brothers, my name is Noor, and I have a very basic question. I'm definitely new to so-called the cloud technologies. Let me just give you a quick background about my skill set. So I have been working almost 14 years in data analytics and reporting, basically handling the front end and self-service BI reporting using those analytics tools like Tableau, Power BI, Cognos, couple of more. So nowadays, when I'm seeing the trend for almost each and every job position, there have been one title that you should know, you should be familiar with the cloud technology. So from the analytics perspective, what are our learning path in the cloud? Because whenever I started doing some kind of Udemy courses and all, most of them is leading into the infrastructure management, how you see the server performance and integration and those. So from the reporting and data analytics perspective, what are our learning paths? If you can help me.
Sadiq talked about data. You want to take it up?
As well as I shared that because Microsoft come up with your Power Platform, I shared that link, right? What are the tracks and certifications are available, whoever comes from a business analyst background, right? Once again, I shared on the chat. Just click on that link that will take you into the respective certification. If you click on that e-certification, there is a curriculum. Okay, what are the tools and technologies that exam is going to cover you?
So in short, there is something on Power Platform, something on data and others. I think so it will be suitable for you.
So
you don't have to go to app and infra for you.
Yeah. So when we talk about the Power Platform, so basically what I understood is, of course, it's from the Azure and Microsoft. They're endorsing Power BI and those kind of applications. So how do we generalize our experience, which is from the different tool and different technologies from the different vendor into the Power Platform?
Okay, great. See, today most of the BAs will be taking the data, doing massaging and bringing as a report format. Okay, whatever they want and however they want, right? You have a multiple vendors, right? If you have an expert in one product, I don't think so you will be having any challenge to get the same expertise within few weeks if you switch it to some other products or vendors.
Yeah, I agree to that.
Yeah. The add to it if I've got to add 2 cents towards that, I think in Azure, from the data engineering and the data analytics perspective, you have something called a Microsoft storage account where you can have cold storage and hot storage. From there, you have Azure data factories. It's more of the ELT jobs, which you do in your Informatica or Talent, right? You've got data flows, which is a recent addition in Azure. From there, you push the data into Azure Analytics Services, which is a data warehouse. Probably you may be having some of the data warehouse in AWS or anything. And then you serve the reports into Power BI. So yeah, if you want to look specifically, it would be like storage account. It could be Azure Data Factory. It could be your Azure pipelines. It could be data flows, and it could be Azure Analytics Services. If you've got to look into the data engineering perspective.
Okay, definitely, I'll take a look.
So what I suggest, right? I know there's a lot of pros and questions on what to take. Yeah, if you can just go.
Quickly, I'll present something.
That's it. Go to the site itself, right?
Yeah, site itself. It would be
That's what I was going to
everyone.
suggest. Go to the site.
Sure.
We'll tell you how to maneuver. And again, Microsoft started with 3 certificates 4 years back. Today, I think so they have some like 10, 20, 30, and even we have lost track of it. So I think so they have an engine built to say that depending on what you are, you can actually get into the training or certification. Okay.
Let's suppose if you want to look at the role-based certifications, right? There are role-based certifications. If you want to become an administrator.
No, let's start with the business analyst. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go with business analyst and business owner, right? Okay.
Business analyst. Yeah.
Mr. Kalim, it is for you. Okay. So you can say beginner. Again, you can do that selection. So these are
selection
some
based on that you can take it forward. Yeah, whether beginner or intermediate level. Right? This is for one role. Suppose if you are looking for any of the data analyst, right? Someone asked that question, right? These are the BI reporting as well as your data fundamentals and your.
No, first select the fundamentals, please. So beginner is this, right? So you'll start off with Azure Data Fundamentals, the DP900, right? So this is where you get it. After that, you can actually get into the next one.
Suppose if you want to go for data engineer.
And Sadiq, someplace, just click on the link also, right? So that we can.
Yep, sure. And if you want to go with the data engineer or intermediate or beginner, right, these are the certifications are available. It's predominantly on SQL solutions. And if I'm selecting the intermediate, okay, which is your data engineering on Azure DP 203 as well as
click at 200.
200 and 201. Yeah.
Click at 200. Yeah. So once you get in, so it will give you the syllabus. Scroll down.
Okay, these are the skills it's going to cover: your implementation of your Cosmos DB data lakes, as well as blob storage, as well as your few of the non-relational databases, accessing RBAC, access control, as well as DR monitoring. Okay, then here you have the detailed information for each topic. Just I will share this. Yep.
What do you think? Shall we close the session? Because
yeah, even I have something actually at 9 o'clock.
Otherwise, it will keep on extending.
Yeah, Mr. Rizwan, I think so. I've seen your hand raised for quite some time. I think so. I will take one last question from you and from Mr. Rizwan and close.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for giving me time. Actually, my question is behalf of 5 to 10 engineers, VoIP engineers who are presently in this call. So basically, we are, we like to join the cloud environment, and we are basically blank. We don't have any good knowledge in this. So we are into VoIP, Cisco VoIP from past 5 to 10 years, depending on the individuals. I have close to 6.5 years experience in Cisco VoIP. So could you please give us a detailed information like what exactly steps we need to do? And one more question is, can we survive with only VoIP if we move to cloud, or we need to go into different directions, like need to have knowledge in security or something to be more competitive in the market in future? Hello.
Who's this? The question asks.
This is Rizwan Ahmed, sir.
Okay, Rizwan Ahmed. First of all, right, you have to decide whether you want to go towards a security, because VoIP is completely different from your security, right?
Exactly.
Whether
Sir.
you want to choose your route towards either VoIP or the infrastructure, right? If I would suggest you to take an infrastructure route, so that once if you learn an infrastructure on the cloud, every customer is looking today a Superman who knows the your VoIP security as well as infra. I would strongly recommend to go ahead with infra certification. Once it is done, then go ahead with your team certification, which will give your identity as well as tenant management, as well as collaboration and integration with your teams, right? As well as few of the scenarios where you can cover how to migrate a few of the VoIP solution to your teams.
Okay. So first we need to do the basic like AZ900, then the Teams one, right?
No, AZ900, I would strongly recommend on AZ104. Then go to the team certification.
Okay, the start. Okay. AZ104 and team certification, correct?
Yes, yes. So because right, your aspiration toward VoIP as well as security and other things, until unless you knows what Azure end-to-end and infrastructure, it would be very difficult you to become a security expert or security SME on Azure, having your VoIP experience.
Okay. Okay, Jazakallah, sir. Thank you so much for your help.
Thanks a lot, folks. Thanks. I hope we were able to answer. I know that the people with various background, we have, with both Sadiq and me, have tried to cover as much as possible. I know some answers might or might not be in detail, considering confidentiality and other aspects which we have to maintain. But if there is anything, please feel tuned, and we can probably see if we can arrange another session as such. Back to the organizers. Sadiq,
thanks a lot to all the participants, and our heartfelt thanks to Moinuddin and Sadiq for sharing their knowledge. This marathon session is really appreciated, and inshallah we'll keep on having more sessions on cloud. We'll schedule and let all of us know about the future sessions, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So with this, let's close and make dua. Inshallah, we'll come back with something much more better than this. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you, inshallah. Thanks a lot. Jazakallah.
Yeah. Jazakallah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Jazakallah khair for the wonderful session.
Great, Sadiq and Moin. Thanks for the help, and
thank you.
And have a good day. Jazakallah.
Thank you.
Leave meeting.